ER diagram. An entity relationship model describes the structure of database with the help of diagram that we call entity relationship diagram. For example, when you are going to bank, the bank person explaining you about the loan, they will explain to you about the principal, rate of interest, tenure, and how the amount will be deposited in your account and how they will collect the money. Everything they are discussing, but you are not understanding. So what they will do? They will give a diagrammatic representation. Similar to that, ER diagram is a graphical representation or a diagrammatic representation of how the data stored in the database. So it says how the data stored in the database. That is called ER diagram. So we can tell ER model is a design or a blueprint of the database that can data be implemented as a database. So it simply tell you how the data are storing in the database. And then there are three types of components: entity, attributes, relationship. So entity is represented in rectangular shape, attributes in ellipse or oval shape, relationship in diamond shape. Okay. So first, what is entity? An entity can be either a living or non-living component. For example, in an English grammar, we know about noun, right? So what is noun? Noun is a person, place, thing. So is a living or non-living component, right? So similar to that, entity, for example, it may be a particular person, job, company, employee, or else course. Everything comes under entity. It showcases the entity as a rectangle. It is denoted in a rectangular shape. And for example, in a student study course, both the student and the course are entity. So both the student and the course are living and non-living component, right? So both the student and the course are entity. So that is called entity. So that's a diagrammatic representation. Student, course, both the student and course represented in a rectangular shape. In the entity, there is one more category called weak entity. So the weak entity that cannot be uniquely identified by its own attributes. For example, bank. There are so many bank accounts, right? Can a bank account can't able to identify which bank it belongs to. So that is comes under weak entity. For example, a bank account cannot be uniquely identified without knowing the bank to which the account belongs. So bank account is a weak entity. So it is represented in double rectangular shape. Okay, so that is called weak entity. And then the second component is attributes. This attributes. Attributes exhibit the properties of entity. For example, robotics. When you are making robots, there are so many properties being used. So properties is, for example, when you are coming to robotics, you will tell sensors, microcontroller, actuator, and so we tell everything. They are the properties, right? So similar to that, attributes is the properties of entities. For example, student. When you are taking a particular student, you have address, you have roll number, age, name, all the attributes of student. So that is called attributes. And the types of attributes, we have four types. One is key attributes, composite attributes, and multi-value attributes. The last one is derived attributes. The first one is key attributes. So what is key attributes? Is the uniquely identifies an entity from an entity set. So a student, he has a lot of things, right? Address, in which department he belongs to. He belongs to IT department. In which section he belongs to A or B section, right? But he has a unique identity, that is the roll number. Yes? So roll number comes under key attributes, an example for key attributes. And it underlines the test of the key attributes. So, and for example, for a student entity, the roll number can be uniquely identify a student from a set of students. Okay? And the second one, composite attributes. An attribute that is composed of several other attributes, that is known as composite attributes. For example, you are we won't tell, right? Student is from Chennai. If we tell like there is a lot of students in Chennai, so that is not a particular address. In address, it will include in which street he belongs to, in which district, in which state, in which country, and we have a pin code. So, and that is called the composite attributes. It's a combination of attributes that is called the composite attributes. And that's an example. And the derived attributes. An attribute that can be derived from other attribute of the entity is known as derived attributes. For example, so what is derived? In the name itself, we know what is derivation. We are deriving something from the formula. We are applying formulas and deriving from the previous step. We are deriving the answer from the previous step. That is called derivation, right? So similar to that, what is derived? Derived attributes, the attributes which is derived from other attributes. For example, age. Date of birth is also one attribute. From date of birth, we are deriving age. So that is called derived attributes. So derived attributes always denoted in this line oval shape. That's and the second one, the fourth one is multi-value attributes. So some attributes can't possess a one value, right? It has lot of values. For example, some attributes can possess over one value. Those attributes are called multi-value attributes. For example, student. Student phone number. We can't tell that he has only one phone number. Is it correct? He might have lot of phone numbers, right? So that comes under multi-value attributes. For example, a person have more than one phone number. So the phone number attribute is multi-value attributes. So and then that multi-value attributes always denoted in double oval or double ellipse shape. So that is called multi-value attributes. That's an example. The student, roll number. Roll number is the key attributes. Age. Age is the derived attributes, and name. Phone. Phone, it's mentioned in double ellipse. So that comes under multi-value attributes. Yes. The third component is relationship. So what is relationship? It's an association between entity types. So we have entity. How it's related with other entity. We need to denote that, right? We need to mention in some shape, that is diamond shape. So relationship is the association between the entity types, and it's denoted in diamond shape. There are four types of relationship: one to one, one to many, many to one, and many to many. So what is one to one? When a single element of an entity is associated with single element of another entity, so that is called one-to-one relationship. For example, a person. Okay, a person have. For example, we can say a person have passport. One person have only one passport, right? He can't have lot of passport, and one passport have only one person. So other example we can take, student has identification card. One student has one identification card from the institute, right? So we can take that as an example for one-to-one relationship. And the example, student has only one identification card, and an identification card is given one person. And the second type of relationship is one-to-many relationship. That is where a single element of an entity is associated with more than one element of another entity. So that we call one-to-many. For example, a customer placed an order. One customer placed many order, right? For example, I can place many order, but many order can't place me, right? So that is called customer placed order. One customer, many orders. So that is called one-to-many relationship. An example, a customer placed many order, but the order cannot be placed by many customers. And then the third type of relationship is many to one relationship. When more than one element of entity is related to the single element of another entity, so that we call many to one relationship. For example, a student, so there are in a class there are so many students, right? So all the students can enroll in one course, right? For example, IT department in a section there are a lot of students, like more than 50 students are there in one section, right? So all are studying in IT second year B section or IT third year BA section. So all are studying in a combined class, right? So that is an example for many to one relationship. Many students enroll in one course. So that is many to one relationship. Student is an entity, course is an entity, but the difference is many students enroll in one course. And enroll is a relationship between the student and course, so that mentioned in a dimension. And then the fourth type, many to many relationship. So when more than one element of an entity is associated with more than one element of another entity, that we call many to many relationship. For example, employee. A group of employees do a project, right? So a group of employees can do a group of project. Yes. So that is one employee is a group of employees assigned to a group of projects. So that we can tell us many to many relationship. That's an example. And another project, another examples also we can tell in a final year students, like there are group of students have do a projects, right? So that we tell a many to many relationship in this one. And the last one is example for ER diagram for library management. We are using all the components and doing one example, that is library management system. So what is library management system? We are a person, I am going to borrow book, and the book is published by some other person, right? So all those things are explained in a diagrammatic explanation. So how? For I am a member, I am going to library to borrow books. Why I am going to library to borrow book? So that is the relationship between me and the book. So member is an entity, book is an entity, borrowed by is a relationship. And then book and publisher. What the relationship between book and publisher? The book is published by the publisher. So that is denoted in dimension, the relationship. And member, we have a lot of entities, right? Expiry date, name, address. And address comes under composite attributes. Member type, member date, member ID. So key attributes always mention in a line. Inside the oval, you should mention in a line. That is called key attribute. So member ID is denoted by a line. And borrowed by is the issue, return date, due date, or the attributes of borrowed by. So when we are going to library, we have to give the date, right? We have to sign it, and every time they will get an entry from us. So all due date, date date, return date, issues, or the attributes of borrowed by. And books. Books is an entity which have lot of attributes. Book ID is a key attribute. Available, price, title, order, publisher also having publisher ID, address, name. So this is the diagrammatic representation of library management system. So that's all about ER diagram. So ER diagram, so let's we can recap it. ER diagram is the diagrammatic representation which show how the data are storing in database, and there are types of components, entity, attributes, relationship. So entity is similar to noun, which contain living and non-living components we call entity. And weak entity, and an entity cannot identify its own attributes, that we call weak entity. An attribute is the properties of the particular entity. And there are types: key attributes, composite, multi-value, derived. What is key attribute? Key attribute is a unique identifier, and composite attribute is the combination of attributes. Example, address. Derived attribute, that is called is derived from other attributes, that we call derived. And multi-value attribute more than one entities, instance of entity. Similar many to one relationship, so more than one element related to a single element, and many to many, more than one element is associated with more than one element. So this is an example.